gracias, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love and support you guys share with me from the Cora. Gracias. Also, do please like, share, and subscribe if possible. Well, to get right into the topic on hand, today is gonna be different, right, than what I usually speak on. And I'm not gonna put out names of other channels, nor none, my respects to them. But I'm gonna touch on the narrative that's put out there, right? I wanna touch on up on Fox, of course, with a personal story if I could make sense of it, right? Nevertheless, what you've been hearing from different channels, right? One, I understand it, right? From envy and jealousy, hate, for many, many reasons, right? Because at one point they were brothers, put out this recording and put the narrative that's most convenient to him, right? Which I understand that, you know, it's just always been him. But I have also heard many, many other channels, you know, Fox, ex-Mexican mafia member, he's on disregard. And that alone tells me that lag of an individual really knowing the ends, right? Or what's really going on. It's just a way of showing how you get your information from people that are upset and already gone, right? And you turn it into a narrative of an active member calling me. Come on, you know. And with this, I'm not glorifying nor defending Fox. I got a couple stories I want to touch on the individual that I don't agree with, right? And I don't think he was correct on. Nevertheless, I've been asked recently by many, what do I think about the slap on the wrist that he just got, right, by taking this deal? Or what do I think about the consequences? Or another one, him getting out, and how should they address him when he gets out, right? He should be acknowledged or ignored. Well, with that, let me start off with, if you're a camarada, as a campolero, the right for us to move on somebody, or one of them, right, on our own, without guidance, without orders, or even question them, is not possible. It could be your career. It don't matter if they consider them no good or on the shelf, whatever, right? It's just another way to trick or put this downfalls for camaradas, right? And glorify themselves. Second of all, now this is my opinion only, right? From my knowing of things and mine alone, right? Fox was in the shelf. It got put on the shelf when Mike Boo, Rube, and them, they started being jealous, right? They wanted the whole cha-cha for themselves, so they started politicking against them, right? Evil, Mula, and, you know, different angles. And, Fox would have walked away from it, right? But it's what is going to circle around today, right? He decided to maintain and support evil, because he was doing right, whatever that means, right, in Mexico. And he was moving down here, right, from corner to corner, and touching those that evil deserved for them to get touched. Unfortunately, it wasn't Mike or Rube or others, right? He had his angle, as they all do. But when all that started, it hit a it hit a stage where, yeah, Fox, he got set down. But again, it was more so on a greed type of thing, right? From having the county for what was coming in from the familia. And in reality, for those who don't know, right? Fox was the pointer. Fox the one from Michoacan with the family ties. La familia, they could care less what Mike had to say. what Rube had to say. At the end of the day, they were dealing with Fox. They didn't like that, right? Nevertheless, Fox has been known for having paid lawyers, right? You guys know what extent. It is why he sat down for so long beating his case, because in reality, these 3 years, he beat his case, especially because he's being deported, right? For one, where Fox would have had some problems was if he would parole to the state. Because, again, a lot of people made sure that he was going to have problems in the state. Because a lot of people put that narrative that he minimized a lot of carnales right in the state. And he favored some in the feds in Mexico. But since he's getting deported, you know, certain people put on here on how blaming the government why this man should not be let out or whatever. You guys know how I am. Being a double lifer, I don't wish on nobody to be locked up for life, right? If he gets out, there's always ways to circle around to what someone should have coming. There's no need to wish prison upon somebody, right? But anyways, ain't nothing gonna happen to Fox. Let me take you back to Corcoran. When I was in Corcoran on B-Yard with Fox. Fox, they say he spoke a lot. Yeah, he was outspoken. Right before they clipped Wino's wings, there was a homie, right, Grumpy, from 42nd South Central. He was Fox Soldado. Grumpy just happened to be in a different pot as Fox. He was in the pot where Wino was at. Now, those that know Wino he was a dirty politicker, right? He knew when Camarada was solid. He literally tried to steal him from one of his own brothers to work for him. And if not, he would have the Camarada moved on and whacked for still being loyal to another member. Of course, he did it with that, I don't know what he's talking about, right? I don't know what happened. Them type of chavala stuff, right? But anyways, he tried to do this with Grumpy, and Grumpy said chales. Now, Grumpy was a smart individual, though. You seen they weren't that close to each other to where appeals had to be written. Now, I'm not saying this was okay, right? Because as a campolero, you receiving an appeal from appeali. Your obligation is either to respond in the back of the appeal and resend it back, read and flush. Those are the only two options, right? Unless you're gonna be a weenie and give it to a Huda or save it for security, right? Nevertheless, by this time, Wino was real known, right, for his scandalous ways, and he started sharing things with Fox. Corcoran was a piece of cake when it came to getting in touch with people, right? Different pots, whatever. And not many Pilis pushed on Wino because of his power, because of his antiquity, his family. But Fox did for his soldado. And, I'm not even going to touch on the angle, but Fox touched on an angle to where, you backed away from this or this angle's going to be touched. And it was at least in my case, it was the first time I seen Wino sat down and stay quiet. Unfortunately, the homie Grampy, he was solid. He got out, even though he was Chicano. Fox directed him to Michoacan, right? To meet with a couple people from La Familia. A lot of people don't. You hear all these names of peones from La Familia that came out, right? But nah, Fox was in touch directly with Chango, with Moreno, El Gaño Sr., with hitters from La Familia, right? And Grumpy went down there and he lined up a lot of things. It's when everything flared up. When you started hearing all this talk about Mexican Mafia and La Familia, Ace Deucing it together, making moves, and all them things that came out. It was no other Mexican Mafia. You see, I hear the nonsense in people. Fox is gonna have problems because so and so and so and so they're in TJ, or so and so and so and so they're in Guerrero. And What does that have to do with Michoacan? Again, you're wet behind the ears. You don't know how Mexico works. Nor Fox is gonna go in TJ and lift up dust, nor them in Michoacan. Unfortunately, when things started going downhill for Fox, it's because of the Tuta and El Pitufo. They were familia, but they decided they were bigger than the program. And they wanted to touch base with the state. Now they address Grumpy, Grumpy answered like we're supposed to as a campolero. I don't make the decisions. Let me run it across a señor. Tuta was just one of them individuals that thought he had the last word on everything, right? And he had Grumpy killed, right? And right after that is when El Pitufo and then they started Los Caballeros Templarios. And they set up Moreno. For those that don't know, Moreno was supposed to be dead and he was hiding by himself in the Sierra. No way they could have found him, but they found him. Because one of his closest alliances, Winnie Tuta, directed them to them, right? He's gonna be dressed like a vagabundo, riding a mule, way up in the mountains by himself. It's how he really got killed. Is when you seen that explosion of Los Caballeros Templarios. You see a lot of people say son lo mismo. Again, you're an outsider looking in, right? No sabes. Michoacán is like saying La Nueva Familia Michoacana is the same as La Familia Michoacana. Caballeros Templarios are the same as Guerreros Unidos just because they're in the same state, right? It's not so. But this video is more so on answering everyone. What are my thoughts on Fox getting this deal? I think he has a lot of paperwork to show. A lot of paperwork to show. If he wants to be clear. Now read my words. If he wants to be clear. Would he push for it? I don't know. He could feel as one of them okey dokes, right? Kind of like what they did with Topo Garcia. And in reality, he could hit Michoacan and live okay. Especially now, right? The movement in Michoacan's there. Or he could really press. Again, if you believe the narrative that he's in the shelf as a whole, you know, I won't go against that. Just do know, yes, he is in this regard, but only when it comes to one faction. And it's not the only faction in La M. So my answer to you is when he gets out, how should you react if he ever approaches? How we're supposed to, till you get word from a different carnal and you get it in writing. You to treat Fox as he is, but don't go with the narrative that people read and trying to paint in their own words. Look at what it is, hate. Like I always say, stay trucha. Be smart when somebody's trying to lie to you and get in your head with lies. Stay true to yourself and love to your loved ones.